How you doing, Internet? It's me again, Nate. I had already posted a video going over the whys, hows, whos of CISPA. It ended up being 45 minutes long, and there's a lot of other extra material in there. If you want to watch it, watch more of a rant, go for it. I'm leaving it up. But I'm filming this here just to drive home the points of CISPA and really hopefully put it out there that this is not a good bill. This is not for your protection. This is just because Facebook is signing on with this does not mean good. And I'll go into that even, but man. All right. So I guess we'll start off with the why of CISPA, and I'm going to put these texts below, of course, but I can't find the why. I can't. I've looked out just about everywhere, and it does not specifically say why. In contrast, SOPA at least had a why. To promote prosperity, creativity, entrepreneurship, and innovation by combating the theft of U.S. property and for other purposes. You know, and maybe it's because CISPA is being amended under the National Security Act of 1947 under Title 11, which, by the way, is the other, it doesn't really belong here, but we're going to put it here anyway, title. So, let's go ahead and look at the why for the National Security Act of 1947. Which is an act to promote national security by providing for a Secretary of Defense for a national military establishment for the Department of the Army, Department of the Navy, Department of the Air Force, and for the coordination of the activities of the national military establishment with other departments and agencies of the government concerned with its national security. Yeah, the Internet really sounds like it belongs in there with the Army, you know, the Navy, Air Force, and the NSA and CIA. That is a great place to put where all of our ideas are zipping across the world. That sounds like an awesome idea, guys. Bravo. Okay. So, now to accomplish this why, I guess, it has two hows how the CISPA wants to do this. It's defined under subsection A and subsection B. Subsection A starts off here is the intelligence community sharing of cyber threat intelligence with private sector and utilities. The Director of National Intelligence shall establish procedures to allow elements of the national intelligence community to share cyber threat intelligence with private sector entities and utilities to encourage such sharing, to encourage the sharing of such intelligence. Sorry, I botched up the end there. As I'm going to explain later, they don't really need to encourage such sharing. I don't really see why our intelligence agency would want to start just giving up information unless there's another incentive that we don't know about. Just there's a thinker there for you. And paragraph 2 and going on for the rest of the subsection here really just sets up a bunch of bureaucracy and walls that would block it anyway. So, yeah, we can do this, but it's not going to happen. Whatever. So let's go ahead and move on to subsection B here, which states the use of cybersecurity systems and sharing of cyber threat information. Notwithstanding any other provision of law, a cybersecurity provider with the express consent of a protected entity for which cybersecurity provider is providing goods or services for cybersecurity purposes may, for cybersecurity purposes, use cybersecurity systems to identify and obtain cyber threat information to protect the rights and property of such protected entity, and share such cyber threat information with any other entity designated by such protected entity, including if specifically designated the federal government. Self-protected entities, notwithstanding any other provision of law, a self-protected entity may, for cybersecurity purposes, use cybersecurity systems to identify and obtain cyber threat information to protect the rights and property of such self-protected entity, and share such cyber threat information with any other entity, including the federal government. Now, if you noticed anything in there, which I hope you did, is that there's a lot of custom definable words, if you will. So, it would probably be smart on our part to look into those custom definable words. Which we're going to do. Let's go ahead and first start out with the why of this subsection, which is a cybersecurity purpose. It means the purpose of ensuring the integrity, confidentiality, or availability of, or safeguarding a system or network, including protecting a system or network from efforts to degrade, disrupt, or destroy such system or network, or efforts to gain unauthorized access to a system or network, including efforts to gain such unauthorized access to steal or misappropriate private or government information. Okay. The how is a cybersecurity system. Means a system designed or employed to ensure the integrity, confidentiality, or availability of, or safeguard a system or network, including protecting a system or network from efforts to degrade, disrupt, or destroy such system or network, or efforts to gain unauthorized access to a system or network, including efforts to gain such unauthorized access to steal or misappropriate private or government information. Okay? Now, what about the what? The what is cyber threat information. It means the information directly pertaining to a vulnerability of or threat to a system or network, including a government or private entity, including information pertaining to the protection of a system or network from efforts to degrade, disrupt, or destroy such a system or network, or efforts to gain unauthorized access to a system or network, including efforts to gain such unauthorized access to steal or misappropriate private or government information. Dang it. Didn't say that as fast as I did in the last video. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the who's now. The first who I want to run over here is a cybersecurity provider. It means a non-governmental agency that provides goods or services to be intended to be used for cybersecurity purposes. Okay? The last two who's here, the first of which is a cybersecurity entity, means an entity other than an individual that contracts with a cybersecurity provider for goods or services to be used for cybersecurity purposes. Okay? And notice these last two also are not government, or they can be government, excuse me, and they specifically say other than an individual. So, if we want to put fairness, if I'm being attacked, I can't go attacked. Whatever. Our last here, self-protected entity, means an entity other than an individual that provides goods or services for cybersecurity purposes to itself. I'm sure we can all agree on the vagueness of these definitions and really the scope that it encompasses. And I'm not the only one here. I mean, we have the EFF, the Electronic Frontiers Foundation, just saying the same thing, which rightfully so. These are, from a technical standpoint, so broad, it's scary. I'll get into that later, what's even more scary. But first, I want to run down really quick go into the who's here. The first two, which is the cybersecurity provider, as I already ran down, was non-governmental, and it can sell information. A protected entity can be governmental or non-governmental. It can purchase this information, and under subsection B, paragraph 1, subparagraph A, can sell this information to anybody else they want. A self-protected entity, also governmental or non-governmental, can spy on you, and then under subsection B, paragraph 1, subparagraph B, sell this information to anybody they want. So the self-protected entity, you take the first two, combine them together, and make one huge evil whatever. The even more scarier thing, which I was alluding to earlier, is here the use of, under subsection B, paragraph 1, subparagraph A, the use of the word notwithstanding. Notwithstanding, in this sense, literally means in spite of. Yeah. So with this, let's go ahead and run over subsection B again, and to do it kind of to better, pictures are always good. I drew a map. Maps are awesome. Let's use it. I really hate filming with a phone. It happened again. Got a text. Turned on. I totally finished the entire thing. Calm down. Calm down. Okay. So, going over subsection B here really quick, did I get to explain the map? I don't think I did. Let's explain the map. Gotta completely redo my brain to where I am in this video. Alright. So here we have the United States as a whole. This is our imaginary internet service provider, if you will. Their backbone, anyway. One thing to note that any major ISP has a backbone across the United States. Verizon, AT&T, Cox, Charter, Comcast. And yeah, there's multiple internet tubes running around. It's a complex system. These red things are our routers, exchange points, processing centers, whatever you want to call them. We have our DNS servers here, which I used for in the last video to explain SOPA. We have our entities, Google, Facebook, Microsoft. And then we have our IP packet here. An IP packet is what the internet basically uses to communicate back and forth. We have the source, the destination, which of course includes the source and destination to where the IP packet is going, and then the data inside. There's also other header information in here, but you don't care. I don't want to explain it, so we're not going to. The data, one thing to note and remember is that if it's not encrypted, you can read it. You can see it. It's not that hard to do. Anybody, if they wanted to. Alrighty. That should be it. So, let's go ahead and go over subsection B. Use of cybersecurity systems and sharing of cyber threat information. In general, let's put the definitions in here for fun. In spite of any other provision or law, a cybersecurity dealer with a purchase order from a protected entity for such cybersecurity dealer is providing goods or services for whatever the heck they want, for whatever the heck they want, use cybersecurity spy boxes to identify and obtain personally identifiable information to protect the rights and property of such protected entity, and share such personally identifiable information with any other entity designated by such protected entity, including, if specifically designated, the federal government. Self-protected entities, in spite of any other provision or law, a self-protected entity may, for whatever the heck they want, use cybersecurity spy boxes to identify and obtain personally identifiable information to protect the rights and property of such self-protected entity, and share such cyber threat information, personally identifiable information, for any other entity, including the federal government. So, just to put in an example here for you, I'm going to put a command below for Mac and PC for you people that don't know trace routes. And you can trace route to Google and watch all of the routers that your communication goes through to get to Google. Okay? And if under this bill we can spy on all this information, for an example, let's say you have your cell phone and you are in Seattle over here, and that sneaky little app is stealing your address book, and that sneaky app server is over here in New York. Your address book will go through, whatever the fastest route is, through routers, and by this IP packet. And which I don't know how the program's set up, but there's a lot of programs where it's not encrypted, the majority of them, everybody can now read your address book. Another thing to throw in there too, since the NSA, which is specified in this bill, can also get this information, I'm not a cryptologist, but anything is hackable. So if they really wanted to go after you and devote, I don't know, some supercomputer or something to cracking encryption to read your data, they can now. It takes a lot of resources to crack encryption. It does. But it is possible. So that's just another thinker there for you. Too much authority to the federal government. Okay. Now, to end this off here, I'm just going to run down a few scary sections of the bill. I do briefly go over other sections in the other video too. Like I said, I'm also going to put this text down below so you guys can read it too as well. What we're going to do is go down to paragraph 4 and pay attention to subparagraph B, which I'll point out. And for those of you following along, we are still under subsection B. In the old bill, it is under paragraph 3, and this is the exemption from liability. No civil or criminal cause of action shall lie or be maintained in federal or state court against a protected entity, self-protected entity, cybersecurity provider, or an officer, employee, or agent of a protected entity, self-protected entity, or cybersecurity provider, acting in good faith for using cybersecurity systems or sharing information in accordance with this section, or for not acting on information obtained or shared in accordance with this section. Okay? They revised it to, of course, better promote national security, to no civil or criminal cause of action shall lie or be maintained in federal or state court against a protected entity, self-protected entity, cybersecurity provider, or an officer, employee, or agent of a protected entity, self-protected entity, or cybersecurity provider, acting in good faith for using cybersecurity systems for sharing information in accordance with this section, or, subparagraph B here, for decisions made based on cyber threat information identified, obtained, or shared under this section. Let's compare and contrast really quick. For not acting, for decisions made, shared in accordance, shared. Really? Really? Let's move on. Because I promised myself I wasn't going to make this a ranting video. Okay. Now we're under subsection E, which regards the reporting on the information. Just like we did with the other one, let's go ahead and start off with the old version. Report on information sharing. The Privacy and Civil Liberties Oversight Board, established under Sections 1061 of the Intelligence Reform and Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004, shall annually submit to Congress a report in unclassified form containing a review of the sharing and the use of federal information by the federal government under this section and the purposes and the procedures and guidelines established or issued by the Director of National Intelligence under subsection A, and any recommendations of the Board for improvements or modifications to such authorities to address privacy and civil liberty concerns. Alrighty. Let's read the new one. The Inspector General of the Intelligence Community shall annually submit to the Congressional Intelligence Committees a report containing a review of the use of the information shared with the federal government under this section, including a review of the use by the federal government of such information for a purpose other than a cybersecurity purpose, a review of the type of information shared with the federal government under this section, a review of the actions taken by the federal government based on such information, appropriate metrics to determine the impact of sharing of such information with the federal government on privacy and civil liberties, if any, a review of the sharing of such information within the federal government to identify inappropriate stovepiping of shared information, and any recommendations of the Inspector General for improvements or modifications to the authorities under this section. Let's just go over a few points. They specifically went to the trouble of taking out unclassified. Here under subparagraph A, a review a review of the use by the federal government for such information for a purpose other than a cybersecurity purpose. Why would you put other in there? Also, appropriate metrics to determine the impact of sharing such information with the federal government on privacy and civil liberties, if any. Any recommendations of the board for improvements or modifications to such authorities to address privacy and civil liberties concerns. They're not even concerned about it anymore. Privacy and civil liberties, if any. Don't worry, they do make recommendations by the Inspector General for improvements or modifications to the authorities. To address what? You know, at least over here, they're addressing the concerns of the authorities on privacy and civil liberties. In here, they're addressing whatever they want to. And another thing that this all encompasses, remember, is now the Inspector General himself is submitting this report to the intelligence committees, not the Civil Liberties Oversight Board, to Congress. I mean, I don't trust the Civil Liberties Oversight Board as far as I can throw them, but that's a hell of a lot better than in a classified form in backroom deals to modify this bill that has no concerns, on privacy and civil liberty concerns, if any, to what the inspector says for improvements to the authorities to address whatever he wants. Wow. Like I said, I'm not going to make this a rant. If you want to watch the rant, there's a 45-minute video of it. To tie this all off here really quick, of course, Facebook and all these other companies are loving this because government gives them the green light, notwithstanding any other provisional law, to sell your information. Talk about a huge jump in their revenue streams. And I don't see why you as the internet aren't getting pissed off about this. We have the text right here taking away our liberties. It's in front of you people. Can we please do something? Take it easy, YouTube.